Hello there, and thank you so much for studying with me. We are studying Psalm number 88 today. This is the book that I'm reading out of. It's called Tehillim, Book of Psalms, and it has commentary from the Talmud, Midrash, Kabbalah, classic commentators, and the Hasidic masters. And behind me is a beautiful Alex Gray poster called Meditation. I like to try to keep these videos brief between 5 to 10 minutes, but this psalm is a little long. It has 19 verses and there's so much good commentary that this one is going to take a little bit longer to explain. So first, an overview. Psalm 88, the psalmist weeps and laments bitterly over the maladies and suffering Israel endures in exile. So there was the Babylonian exile, the Egyptian exile, and the current exile. This is hopefully the third and last one, which he describes in detail. So the first line of the psalm, which is in many English translations the title of the psalm, it opens with shir, which means a song, mizmor, which is a psalm with a P, livnei Korach, by the sons of Korach. And then it says lamnatseach, for the conductor, al machalat la'anot, upon the, and then it doesn't translate the word machalat. And in some of the English translations of this psalm, it skips this first line entirely, or it just has those Hebrew mysterious cryptic words inserted in there without a translation. And when we get to the commentary in just a moment, we're going to see that there's a lot of hidden messages and meanings that are encoded in the first two lines of this psalm, which are not readily noticeable or understandable on the surface. So thank God we have these commentators who were very, 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 very bright, and they had divine inspiration and tremendous biblical scholarship to understand really what's being talked about here. So as mentioned before, most of the Psalms were authored by King David. There's a couple that were authored by Moses. One so far that we've read that was attributed to King Solomon, but actually the end of it reveals that it was written by King David, his father. And so these ones are the sons of Korach, these few Psalms. And there's also Psalms 73 through 83, which were written by Asaph. Let me see, yeah, Mizmor Shir LeAsaph. So 73 through 83 were from Asaph, the Levite temple singer. And so that just gives us a little bit of like an introduction to this psalm. And then it says maskil, and again, this is a word that's not translated, which we're going to do a deep dive into. What does this mean? What is it referring to? Because the English translations also refrain from translating some of these words. For Hyman the Ezrachite. Okay, so that was just loaded. Like, we just read a whole bunch of words. We don't know what they mean. We don't understand the message. So let's jump in. So the commentary on verse 1, which is what I just read to you, which just goes like right over our heads because it's just like so mysterious. We don't even know like where to start with it. So it says, a song, a psalm by the sons of Korach. This is the Drush, which in Jewish mysticism, there's 4 levels of scripture, and it creates an acronym. It's called a Pardes, which means paradise, which is the Garden of Eden. So the the pshat, is the simple level, the surface level. The resh is remez, which is like something that's alluded to or hinted at. The drush, which is what we're about to dive into, is like the third level of depth. And then lastly of the Pardes is the S, the Sod, which is the secret, which is the deep Kabbalistic insight. So we're going into the third layer here. Like, we're probably not capable maybe of grasping the secret yet. That comes when we're much more advanced with our biblical scholarship. Okay, so in its plain meaning, the song is a mournful one. According to one of the commentators, however, despite the painful theme of the psalm, the sons of Korach sang it joyously. This can be understood with the help of a Talmudic tale. So a lot of times things are taught with a metaphor. And so here we go. Rabbi Akiva and his colleagues were once walking in Jerusalem and came upon the temple ruins. They witnessed a fox emerging from the ruins of the Holy of Holies. Now, this was the holiest place in the world on the Temple Mount, where now is the Golden Dome of the Muslim mosque in Jerusalem. And only the high priest was able to enter the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur. So seeing a fox emerging from the ruins of the Holy Temple was kind of a depressing sight. So here's the irony. While the other rabbis cried, Rabbi Akiva laughed. Questioned by his colleagues about his perplexing reaction, Rabbi Akiva explained that the prophets spoke of the destruction of Jerusalem and its eventual reconstruction. When he saw the fulfillment of the prophecy of destruction, he knew that the prophecy of reconstruction would also be fulfilled, the thought of which gave him great joy. So he was looking ahead prophetically. Oh, if this happens now, then what must be coming in the future? And every temple, so far we've had 2 temples in Jerusalem that have been destroyed, and every one of those reconstructions were greater than the temple that preceded it. So each temple that's reconstructed, rebuilt, etc., is better in quality, in its brilliance, and how magnificent it is. So similarly, the sons of Korach sing joyously about the gloomy prophecies of exile in the knowledge that the bright prophecies of redemption will occur as well. So redemption is referring to the Messianic era, a time of peace, a time of no more wars, a time of harmony, and a time when there will be no more hunger in the world. So, and then this is the Hasidic explanation or insight into the verse. The events of this world are reverberations of spiritual events occurring in the supernal world. So there's many different realms of existence. So we live here in the human realm, but there's angelic realms and other celestial realms. It follows that every event is truly a godly event. Since God is holy, kind, and good, every occurrence should reflect that kindness. How is it possible then that certain events are unkind? Obviously, these occurrences are not truly unkind. They only appear so to our limited perception. So we mentioned before the concept that in order for God to create something other than himself, to bestow his kindness and love upon, he had to contract or conceal himself. So we live in a world of illusion. We live in a world of duality, of right and wrong, good and bad, life and death. But in the Messianic era, there will be only right, good, and life. We will even have resurrection of the dead. So in the future, which is what we are, laughing about and looking forward to and happy about, is going to be a time of peace and prosperity, and a time where evil will no longer be will no longer be present in the world, because instead of God being concealed, God will be revealed, and we'll see only kindness. So the question persists, since God is kind, why would he even allow events to appear harmful? The answer is that such events inspire us to search for the good. Difficulties elicit from us greater commitment to find the godly beauty of the world. It is thus possible to refer to a psalm filled with lamentation as a song of joy. So even currently in times of war, while we see a lot of destruction and harm and negativity, There's also, at the same time, people who are doing charitable acts, who are donating blood, who are donating time and resources, people who have turned their homes into sandwich factories, and they are just making sandwiches from morning until night, feeding soldiers, trying to help anyone who has been negatively impacted by these various situations. So even in times that are appearing to our limited perception as being bad times, difficult times, etc., we can search for and find godliness in those situations as well. So furthermore, mournful as it is, our psalm contains several allusions to the beauty that lies within its theme of exile. Just as this psalm contains beauty beneath its bleak surface, so must we seek the same beauty in the world around us. So this is a take-home message, an actionable thing. So even when things all around us seem depressing, dark, and gloomy, we must seek beauty despite that. We must recognize that the veneer of exile exists only to urge us to find the redemption behind it. And not only to find the redemption behind it, but to be the redemption behind it. We can give of our time, of our resources, of our energy to help those in need during these difficult times. So now it's getting to the possible translations of those difficult words that are sometimes not even translated in the English version of the Psalms. So like I mentioned, I use a website called BibleGateway.com, and it has like 60 different translations. It was originally written in Hebrew, and it has 60 different translations based on, all of the various sects of Christianity, Catholicism, etc., because they have some slight nuances in the translations of the Psalms. Some of the words are translated differently, and there's some other like small variations and differences. So the word maskil, which was in the first verse, which is also in some of the translations in the title of the psalm. So this brings us to the awareness that it's a psalm that enlightens and teaches wisdom. Maskil comes from the Hebrew word sechel, which means intellect. So it's a psalm that enlightens us and teaches us wisdom. So that's the word maskil, which is not translated usually. Okay, now there's another phrase which is also difficult to understand. Lahayman, for Hayman, ha'ezrachi, the Ezrachite. So whenever it says ite, it means like somebody who's from either that tribe or that place, that land, etc. But there's more to it than that as well, as usual. It's very deep. Okay, so some say that this Hyman character was a Levite singer, just like Asaph. Remember Asaph, who wrote or was attributed to Psalms 73 through 83. Asaph was a Levite singer from the tribe of Levi. So too was this Hyman person, a grandson of Samuel the prophet. So Samuel the prophet is the one who saw in prophecy that King David would be the king, because King David had, he was one of, I believe, 10 brothers, and the prophet went to every single one of his other brothers to see if he was going to be the next king, and he could see in prophecy, nope, this isn't the one, nope, this isn't the one, nope, this isn't the one. He finally went through all of the brothers, and he went back to the father and he said, are you sure you don't have another son? And he said, yeah, I do have another son, he's a shepherd. But people outcasted King David because they thought that his mother's relationship with his father was an illicit relationship, an adulterous relationship, and that therefore King David was considered an illegitimate child, a quote unquote bastard child, and that therefore he wouldn't be eligible for the kingship. But the truth is that those gossip and rumors were not true, and King David was, or is, the one that was supposed to be the next king. And so here it says that this author of this psalm was a grandson of Samuel. So the one who actually anointed King David to be king. I feel like there's more to that story and I want to share it, but it's not coming to me right now. Okay. So also, Ezrachi in Hebrew, in modern Hebrew, means a citizen. So here it's translated as a permanent resident. So he was a permanent resident among the temple singers. So since most of the singers were his children and descendants. So that's why Hyman is called an Ezrachite. And then there's another alternative possibility. And sometimes the alternative possibilities, even though they might seem contradicting, they can sometimes both be simultaneously correct. So this is another interpretation. So it says that Hyman was a descendant of Zerach, the son of Judah. And this comes from Chronicles chapter 2, verse 6. And Zerach had 5 sons, all of whom were great sages. Solomon is described as being wiser than all people, even wiser than the sons of Zerach. They composed psalms, which were included in the book of Psalms. So Hyman composed this psalm and gave it to the sons of Korach to sing. So the authorship is kind of disputed. It might be the sons of Korach, it might be this Hyman character. We really don't know. Alternatively, the psalm was written by the sons of Korah, who gave it to Hyman to sing. So which came first, the chicken or the egg? We don't know who gave it to who. It's basically what it comes down to. In verse 3, it says, "Let my prayer come before you, God. Turn your ear to my supplication." So the commentary talks about how we pray directly to God, not through an intermediary. So for example, in Catholicism, when somebody goes to confession, he tells his sins to the priest, and then the priest, tells him what to do. But this verse is teaching us that we don't use intermediaries. We don't use rabbis or priests or anyone. We go directly to God. We unburden ourselves to God. We ask for forgiveness from God, and that's the Jewish way of prayer. Verse 11, you will perform wonders. Oh, sorry, it's a question. Will you perform wonders for the dead? So the commentary says, if the oppressive exile leads to our demise, meaning we all get wiped out, the Jewish people, for whom will you perform the wonders that you promised us? So God promised us redemption, salvation, the Messianic era. So how can you do that if we're not here? So it's kind of like a rhetorical question. And the last verse that I want to do commentary on is verse 14. It says, each morning my prayer proceeds before you. So what it means is my prayer to you precedes any of my affairs. So a take-home message and an actionable message from Psalm number 88 is that every morning we should precede our daily affairs with prayer. So before eating, before working, before exercising, we give a few words of thanks. Thank you for being alive. Maybe a few, words of gratitude. Maybe you recite your own personal prayer or some prayers from a book, whatever resonates with you. So that is a take-home message from Psalm 88 that you can apply today. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you learned something. Thank you so much for watching me, and I look forward to the next one. Bye-bye.